The semester is coming to an end, and so is this season of SportsLine. And today we've got our season review for you. Hello, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Although we are sad to go, we still have a ton of athletics to cover before we do. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. We've got a jam-packed show with recaps of our spring sports to finish off our 20th season.
And later, we got to sit down with Adriana Miller to talk about women's basketball and what next year looks like with a new head coach.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Do you have a jingle now?
I'm never going to have a jingle.
There you go. Number 1. This semester was a season of change for LaSalle Athletics as the university introduced 3 new coaches to the staff. The most notable of these changes was Ashley Howard becoming the new coach of the men's basketball team. Howard most recently helped lead the Villanova Wildcats to the NCAA championship. In one of his first moves as a head coach, Howard moved to retain assistant coach Donnie Carr. The field hockey team also introduced Kelly Broadway as the new head coach. Broadway, also coming from Villanova, helped the Wildcats advance to the Big East tournament in her first season with the program. Lastly, the women's basketball team named Mountain McGilvray as head coach of the program. McGilvray was most recently at Quinnipiac, where he helped lead the team to 7 consecutive 20-win seasons. All 3 of these new coaches are Philly locals, and we can't wait to see all the things that they bring to LaSalle.
Number 2. This spring, the Explorers set records across a number of different sports. Senior swimmer Fabian Bergman broke a whopping 6 records at the A10 championships back in February. Bergman found victories in the 200 IM and the 200 back, which helped the Explorers to finish 3rd place in the championship. Dylan Urasitz accomplished similar feats in diving, breaking the A10 record in the 1-meter dive and the LaSalle record in the 3-meter dive. Finally, softball's Emily Conway broke the record for single-season doubles. The sophomore ripped a double in the first inning of LaSalle's matchup against St. Louis back on April 28th. To break the record, she hit 14 doubles this season.
Number 3, LaSalle basketball star B.J. Johnson is entering the NBA draft on Thursday, June 21st. Johnson led the team with 20.3 points per game and 8.3 rebounds per game. These numbers earned him all A10 second team and all Big 5 first team honors. In addition to that, he also earned a spot on the A10 all-academic team. Johnson was invited and played in the Portsmouth Invitational, where he looked to make a case for himself for the NBA. He averaged 11.3 points per game in the tournament and shot nearly 42% from the three-point range. Johnson was recognized by Sports Illustrated as a top senior NBA sleeper. We wish BJ good luck on June 21st, as SportsLine will surely be watching. So we had a lot of cool things, different things happen. We had a lot of records being broken. Although I don't necessarily think as a whole athletics we did very well, we had individual people that did very well. And some of those people came from swimming. Swimming had a pretty decent team. They went decently far into their season. And they just broke records, and their diving team broke records, and we talk about it constantly. And I think that's great, and I think it'll be great to see for next year if they can go even further, you know, the new talent that they bring in. So,
yeah, another person that we mentioned with records was Conway from the softball team, who had a really good year. The softball team was kind of quiet most of the semester, but she had a really good year herself, and found a way to help the team a little bit even though they were struggling.
Yeah.
Another thing that we really need to touch on is BJ. Wishing the best of luck to BJ going forward with his hopes of being drafted, and if not drafted, at least signed to a roster coming in the summer. But he really was a standout for us here over his time here.
Yeah.
Came in from Syracuse, big program, a very big program, and tried to help our program become somewhat competitive in the conference. Whether that was successful or not, we'll leave up to you guys. But
and it was always cool about him because our saying was always, you know, anything can happen when you have the best player on the court.
Right.
Anytime we picked them to win when no one thought we would, well, anything can happen when you had the best player on the court. And that was true, I would say, most of the time, or a lot of the time.
Right. BJ gave us an opportunity to win games even in circumstances that we shouldn't have even contended for
Yeah.
wins.
And the field hockey team also, well, we also have Mountain for the women's,
Right.
but we'll talk about him a little bit later.
Yeah.
We also have Kelly Broadway for the field hockey team. This is a change that I think, I hope is going to make this team come alive. This team really hasn't had much success in quite a long time. So I'm really excited to see this as a true fan of field hockey. I really think her coming from Villanova, I think it could be good for the team.
Yeah. Well, that does it for this week's headlines. Now let's take a look at our final recap for our spring sports. The baseball team welcomed a new coach this season in David Miller, but the Explorers struggled continued. They had an up and down season, which mostly resulted in losses, but the Explorers did come up with a big win early on against Presbyterian. In the last of a 4-game series, the score was tied at 7 until the top of the 9th came along. LaSalle came up big time and scored 9 runs to take a 16-7 win. The last time LaSalle scored 16 runs in one game was back in April of 2016 when they played Fordham. LaSalle is currently 14-31 on the season and will look to finish their season on a high note.
The softball had a season where they never seemed to pull it all together. The season was a losing streak after losing streak as the team mustered an overall record of 12-31. The biggest issue of the season was the pitching. The Explorers often gave up the lead late in games, most notably in a series with A-10 rival George Washington, where they allowed runs in the final 2 innings of both games of a doubleheader. Their longest win streak of the season came at the UMBC Dog Pound Invitational, where they won 4 straight games against UMBC and St. Peter's. Despite the losing record, the team had a few standout performers. Junior Emma Schweigert held a .283 average with 20 RBIs and 10 homers. Sophomore Riley Gearhart recorded 7 wins with a 4.64 ERA and had 64 strikeouts.
The lacrosse team wrapped up their season with a rough trip to St. Joe's that resulted in a 21-7 loss. The loss brought the Explorers' record to what may seem to be a disappointing 7-10. The record does not, however, tell us the growth that has occurred over the season. With 15 freshmen on the roster, the season was bound to be filled with growing pains. Of these freshmen, 3 finished in the top 4 on the team in scoring, with Bridget Ruskey tying the team lead with 46 goals. Brittany Edwards had a fantastic senior season, matching Ruskey with 46 goals and leading the team in both assists and points. On a team with so many inexperienced players, having a senior who played at a high level in every game was no doubt an important factor for the establishment of this revamped Explorers lacrosse program.
The men's track and field team has been putting their pedal to the metal over the past season, with many records being broken. The Explorers saw a lot of success in the 2017-2018 season. Justin Guare capped off his LaSalle career by setting records in both the 60-meter and the 300-meter. Sophomore Anthony Hawthorne also set a school record in the 800-meter this year. Many seniors will be graduating, such as Nick Smart, Gregory Dix, Michael Hagan, and Dylan Titan, to name a few. So the Explorers will be looking for underclassmen to step into a leadership role in the upcoming fall season.
The women's track team also celebrated a number of successes this season, but their greatest success came at the Penn Relays. There the team broke 2 separate records. Ariel Mitchell, Amber Jenkins, Desiree Osley, and Chidima Matthew ran a 47.8 second relay to finish 26th in the 4x100 meter. Ifateo Tyler, Jenkins, Michaela Eberly, and Grace Mancini placed 3rd among 14 teams in the distance medley relay. Their time of 11 minutes 38.6 seconds slashed a record that had been held since 2013. On day 2 of competition, another record was broken. The 4x100 team beat their time from the previous day and set a new school record of 47.7 seconds. The women's track team wrapped up the Penn Relays with 3 new school records in each of the 3 events the team competed in.
The Explorers men's golf team opened their 2018 spring season at the Cape Fear Intercollegiate. An improvement from their first-round performance landed the blue and gold a modest 10th place finish in the tournament. The Explorers also hit the links at the Wildcat Invitational hosted by Big 5 rival Villanova. Junior Nick Gruber posted a team best performance of 74. The team as a whole carded a season best score of 302. To round out the spring season, the men traveled to Orlando, Florida to participate in the A-10 championships. The men posted a score of 315 on the 3rd and final day of championship play, but finished last in the team standings. Freshman powerhouse David Kim landed himself a top 20 performance, carding a 74 and ranking 16th on the individual leaderboard.
The women's golf team opened their second season of play at the William & Mary Intercollegiate. There, they would see a nearly 70-stroke improvement from their previous season. The Blue and Gold then competed in the Vanessa Picciotto-Perrin Intercollegiate, where redshirt freshman Maribel Declan posted her first top 10 finish, carding a 79. The women's team also traveled to Orlando to finish their season at the MAC Championships at Disney's Magnolia Golf Course. The team as a whole improved by 193 strokes on that course as compared with last season. Despite the improvements, the women still finished 8th out of the 9 teams competing.
But the men's and women's tennis teams saw some improvements this year. The men's team earned their first A10 win since March 2011, and the women earned their first A10 win since 2006. Both teams would meet this milestone in their matches against St. Bonaventure on March 13th. The teams seemed to be in rhythm with each other as they both would defeat St. Peter's, Coppin State, and Ryder, while also dropping several other matches together. Both teams were swept in the first round of the A10 tournament by a score of 4-0. The men would finish the season 5-18 overall, while the women ended a 5-14 overall record.
Rowing had a rocky spring semester. The men's varsity 8 failed to get out of the heat stages in most competitions and won only one race against Iona. The freshmen gave some hope for next season when they moved on to the finals, but they would finish in 5th place. On the women's side, the varsity and lightweight 4 had a better stroke of luck. They would score a few victories against both Loyola of Maryland and Iona. However, the varsity 4 would just miss the cut in both the Murphy Cup and the Kerr Cup.
It was another difficult year for the women's water polo team, who went winless in their second season as a program. One of the highlights of this season came on March 24th against Siena. It was a tight defensive matchup that saw LaSalle falling 11-10, despite a hat trick from freshman Carl Linden. Leading the team on offense for the season was freshman Jillian Delisle, who scored 35 goals, almost doubling the next 2 leading scorers, Linden and sophomore Stephanie Morales, each with 18 goals. In the net, sophomore Jenny Furman led the team in saves with 82. Unfortunately, LaSalle came in last in the conference for a second year in a row. On a positive note, 2 Explorers did make it onto the stat leaders for the conference this season, with Caitlin Kubo coming in 4th in sprint winning percentage at .667, and Jenny Furman finishing at 10th in the conference goals against average leaders at 10.2. So, one thing that I kind of wanted to point out, we'll talk a little bit about all of our sports, but I gotta give a little shout out to the tennis team. I think they were underappreciated this year. They didn't do well collectively, but they had players that consistently performed well. Francesco Mari, Tomas Christian for the men, and then Jade Smith and Jayla Smith for the women's. Yep. They had players that consistently did well for them, but they couldn't gel together. And so I kind of wanted to throw that little tidbit in there, although they did do well as a team. Yeah,
they had some outstanding individual performances sometimes this year.
Exactly.
Another thing that I do want to touch on, we talked about all of our spring sports there. I do want to look back at the season as a whole, this year that we've covered on SportsLine. One thing that we really need to mention is the new coaches. We mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
But we didn't spend any time talking about John Giannini or Ashley Howard coming in to replace him. That is a moment that could be a very significant thing that has happened this season for LaSalle as a university moving forward.
100%.
LaSalle is best known nationwide as a basketball program. We have a very good basketball history, and the basketball team in our time here has not lived up to that history and where we expect to be. So moving on from G was both kind of unexpected for me personally, and a move that we probably are going to look back on and say that has some impact on this university.
It's definitely bittersweet because, you know, G was such a good guy, you know, like people loved him, especially off the court, but unfortunately he just wasn't getting the job done on the court, which we saw in our time here. I'm really, really excited to see what this new coach can do. From what I hear, he's already making great changes to the program, and I really hope that, you know, they can make a good run within the next couple of years, and I'm really excited about Ashley Howard.
Right, and another thing that we really need to be excited about that we didn't talk about at all is women's soccer.
Yes.
Women's soccer had a great year this year.
They did.
And
They were probably the best athletic team
they were
of
our
the
best
year.
team. Made the NCAA tournament, which is something that no other team here could say this year.
Won the A10 championship.
Right, won their tournament, and hopefully moving forward can be just as successful next year. And maybe that starts a trend for LaSalle as a university and a sports program.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited to see what they do next year because I don't think they're losing too many of their star players. So I'm really excited to see how far they can go next year. Yep. All right, well, that wraps up our spring sports this season. But stick around because when we come back, we are talking Explorer basketball. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Eddie Dunn, host of LaSalle's favorite TV game show, Q&A. I'm here today to tell you to watch LaSalle TV. Though if you're seeing this commercial, that means you're already watching LaSalle TV. So I guess keep it up. You're doing an awesome job. I hope you like what you're seeing. Good job.
Welcome back. Steven Silvestro sat down with women's basketball star Adriana Miller for another edition of On the Sidelines. Take a look.
Welcome to On the Sidelines. This week I have Adriana Miller from the women's basketball team. So Adriana, you guys had a struggling of a season, but like the 3 years you've been here, you went from down to up to down. What's been going on with the team lately?
Regardless of the down and ups, we had there was a lot of chemistry, and unfortunately, you know, we couldn't finish it as strong as we wished. But we worked very hard, regardless of the 3 years of the ups and downs. But a lot of positive outcomes came out of it, and I felt like a lot of us got experience, so that was very important.
Yeah, you talk about the chemistry. It seemed like every other game, there was a different person that was your leading scorer, alongside with you and Amy Griffin. So with that, so you were one of those players. In back-to-back games, you scored 20 points against UMass and then St. Louis. What was going on? Because that was like 2 games, 4 days, and you had your best performances in those 2.
I remember those games. I was shooting extremely well, so that was a big point. And my team just believed in me, and I believed in myself, and confidence played a big role in that. And, you know, I wanted to win, and we all wanted to win. I mean, UMass, I believe we fell short, but there was a lot of competitiveness within myself and my team, so that was good.
Oh, nice. With that, you guys have a new coach this year, Mountain Wells, right? Have you guys met with him already?
Yes, he's such a great person, very family-oriented, just positive attitude. Nice. He's looking to really change the program, and he's exactly what we needed.
So you say he's going to change the program. Do you know in like what ways? Is he trying to use a new technique, strategy?
Well, right now we're working on a lot of our fundamentals and skills, which is what we actually really need. And then, of course, he's going to bring in his genius mentality, and we're going to probably have a great new offense, which is what we need especially.
Now, with it, you got the opportunity. You guys were in the Christmas Classic. You ended up winning both of your games. How was it like going into a tournament like that? And I think you beat Lehigh and New Hampshire.
Yeah. It was so much fun because that's the start of the season that we really needed, you know, just to really see where we're at. And, you know, we had a great start, so that showed what we probably would have needed to improve on, or regardless of that fact, we just had fun and we won. And winning is good, you know, so getting that winning experience is something that gave us a better mentality from last year. So.
Yeah, you talk about like you getting a better mentality. You were honored with the Explorer Excellency Award for the women's basketball team. I know it's like for leadership, and how's this honor, like being voted on by your teammates and other people for this?
It's definitely an honor because you don't really realize how much people look up to you or want to follow the way you lead, not only on the court, but outside of basketball, whether it's with the community and academics. So I'm very humbled about that, and I appreciate it, honestly.
Right. You are a student athlete, so you're more than just the athlete. So how are you with LaSalle? What are you studying here?
I'm a marketing major. I love business. The new business building is amazing. So, and I love all my professors, you know. They're very dedicated just as much as I am. So, you know, I'm just so blessed, honestly.
All right, so last thing, what do you expect from this team next year?
Oh my gosh, definitely a better mentality. You know, all of us, not just one or two people scoring, but let's get everyone in like double digits, maybe like four people. That would be big. Better defense and just a better flow in offense. Let's push the ball in transition. Let's be that faster team we know it can be, and let's just win. Like once we get on a roll, I believe we cannot be stopped.
All right, I want to thank Adriana Miller for coming on. This is all I have for On the Sidelines. Back to Dana and Tegan.
So, interview man himself, Steve Silvestro, sat down with us.
We got him out of the cave.
He joins our desk. Helen is not going to come join us. She did not dress for the occasion today. But Steve is here. Steve, I know you talked a lot to Adriana about the new coach, Mountain McGillivray. What are your opinions about him? What do you think he can bring to the program?
I think Mountain's going to bring a lot to this program. He was assistant coach at Quinnipiac for a while. They're like a number 9 seed almost in every women's bracket. It's something you don't see often, like consistency with the women's side. Usually it's your top and then everybody else is just okay. Quinnipiac has consistently been like an average team there. So if he could, I think we're going to have to wait a year because he's not going to have his players yet. Next year he'll start his recruiting. Once he gets his own players, I think we got a large upside coming.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously we had talent on the team. Obviously something wasn't gelling. Something needed to change a lot with the men's team. I think that's kind of the theme we see with basketball here. So they had talent individually, but it never came together as a team. And I think that has personally a lot to do with coaching. So I can only really see this as like a positive. I really hope that he comes in and does really great things for us. But unfortunately, we are losing a bunch of players, almost the whole lineup. Can you talk a little bit about how the challenge that he's going to have as a coach and the team they're going to have? Yeah,
next year I wouldn't look anybody to look for a big season. We're gonna have a rough year next year because he's losing a bunch of players and it's not his people, and so it's going to come down to he's going to need time to build this program up.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Steven, for one, doing the interview, and two, coming out of your cave to join us on desk and talk about Mountain. But when we come back, we're going to have some fun SportsLine stuff to look back on, but stay tuned.
Here, host of LaSalle's favorite TV game show, Q&A. I'm here to tell you to keep watching LaSalle TV. It's on 24 hours a day, every day. You know what else is on 24 hours a day, every day? Nothing. Well, maybe some things, but nothing that's as important as LaSalle TV. So keep watching, or else.
Welcome back. Let's take a look back at some of our favorite SportsLine moments from this year.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Do your jingle.
I don't have a jingle, Dana.
Lies. Number 1. Dylan Urasitz competed for the men's team and took 23rd place in the 1-meter dive with 259.65 points. He also placed 32nd in the 3-meter dive with 234.10 points. Urasitz broke school and conference records to win both events at the A10 Championships a few weeks ago. Now this one is the one I'm most excited about. This is LaSalle versus St. Joe's. This one is where Kenny Lassiter seals the game with his 4th goal, but the real star is the St. Joe's kid who flops on the ground in despair. And just to add insult to injury, let's give Eddie McCuster of St. Joe's a nice shout out for this little tantrum.
because it looks to me, people, like the hawk did in fact die. Yeah, so
This is fantastic. Dana is in here. She's so devoted to the athletic department. She's acting as a ball girl. But wait, is she actually doing her job as a ball girl?
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV or on Twitter at SportsLine-LTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there, or follow us on Twitter at Sports. I just said that.
Thanks, Dana.
You're welcome. Follow us on Twitter. It's a great Twitter.
And
I'm Dana Pecora. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the game. Well, that was pretty embarrassing. That was a nice, like, let's embarrass Dana roast video.
Well, that's the benefit of not being on camera is you don't have many of them on. Like yours, it comes up short. It's my fault.
But
you
no
don't
one knows
see it.
it's Steve's fault.
Yeah, I think we all had our embarrassing moments.
There's a little mountain in front of mountain last week.
Yeah, no one picks it up, but if you ever see something weird on the screen,
It's Steve's fault.
It's all Steve's fault.
Yeah.
Tegan, me and Tegan have, you know, the best love-hate relationship, I think.
Yeah.
Mostly love, maybe.
I think it's mostly hate.
We make it through.
We make it through. I mean, we still talk about the fact that he blatantly yelled at me about not having a jingle on the first episode of the semester.
The first episode of the season definitely set the precedent for how our relationship on desk was going to be. I'm glad that we get to do it again next semester.
Yeah,
we
have fun, and we're gonna make Steve and Helen come out of their caves way more often than they did.
Yeah, Helen's gonna do interviews next year.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna make for it.
Wait for it, SportsLine.
Well, that just about wraps it up for us this season. Keep up with all things LaSalle athletics at goexplorers.com.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
For Helen, Steve, Isaiah, and our entire SportsLine team, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the game.
Tegan, do your